This is Geometry Unit 5, Lesson 3, the sum of the interior angles of a triangle. Now, we learned back in grade school that the sum of the interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees, and that's actually a theorem that we can prove. Why is it 180 degrees and not something like 90 or 360 or whatever? We're actually going to prove it. So we are given triangle ABC, and we want to prove that angles 1, 2, and 3, which are angles A, B, and C, add up to 180 degrees. So let's take a look on how we're going to do that. So all we are given is that we have a triangle ABC. Now, what we need is something else that equals 180 degrees. Well, 180 degrees is the measure of an angle that's formed by a line, which is a straight angle. So I'm going to draw DE through C so that DE is parallel to AB. So I'm going to draw myself an auxiliary line through C. If I can draw it straight here. Here we go. Now, I'm going to draw that line. I'm going to call it DE. So here's D, and here's E. And so I'm drawing it so that it's parallel to AB. Now, why can I do that? Well, remember the theorem we talked about yesterday, just kind of in passing. If you have a point, we have point C right here, and you want to draw a line through it that's parallel to a given line, there's only one line that can be drawn parallel to a given line. So, through a point not on a line, there is exactly one line that can be drawn parallel to a given line. That is a theorem we talked about yesterday, just kind of in passing. So, when I drew this line here, there is only one line that can be drawn that will be parallel to this line that goes through point C. So that's our little auxiliary thing. Now, why did I draw a line? Remember, I'm trying to prove that these three angles add up to 180, so I need something about 180 degrees. Well, I know a straight angle measures 180 degrees, so that means that angle DCE right there is 180 degrees. Because that's a straight angle. A straight angle measures 180 degrees. So, this straight angle is made up of three smaller angles. Just for clarity's sake, I'm going to number them. I'm going to call this one angle 4, and I'm going to call this one angle 5. So, those three angles together, 4, 2, and 5 should all add up to 180 degrees, shouldn't they? Because a whole is equal to the sum of its parts. That is the partition postulate. So the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 5 should equal 180 degrees, or excuse me, is DCE. Because a whole is equal to the sum of its parts. That is partition. Now, if we know that DCE is 180, couldn't we use substitution here? So we can say the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 5 is equal to 180. And that's just by substitution. So we're taking 180 and plugging it in for DCE. So we're using substitution in statement 3 into statement 4. So this goes in here to get this. Now, we have 4, 2, and 5 add up to 180. Now remember that these two lines are parallel. Well, we have something about angle 2 adding up to 180, but we need something about 4 and 5. All right, now what do we know about angle 4 if these lines are parallel? Well, isn't angle 4 and angle 1 alternate interior angles? These two right here, aren't they alternate interior angles? And aren't they congruent? And isn't the same thing true for 5 and 3? Right there, aren't those also alternate interior angles that are congruent? Because here's your parallel lines, there's your transversal, and then these are on opposite sides of the transversal, so they should be alternate interior angles. So, for number 6, angle 4 is congruent to angle 1, and angle 5 is congruent to angle 3. And the reason for that is if lines are parallel, which they were back here, DE and AB are parallel. if lines are parallel, alternate interior angles are congruent. So, looking at statement number 5 here, we have 4, 2, and 5 equal 180. Well, if 4 is congruent to 1 and 5 is congruent to 3, couldn't we substitute in here and here 1 and 3? So that means the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 is equal to 180 degrees, again, by substitution. So I took statement 6, and I substituted it into statement 5. So we use 5 and 6 for that. So the sum of the measures, the angles of a triangle, is 180 degrees. It's not just some random number. So now that we know the sum of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees, we can use that for all kinds of measures of angles. So that's what you're going to be doing on your homework. So today's fact is the sum of the measures, the angles of a triangle, is 180 degrees.